So I have always loved to read since I was a kid. I know, shock. But I was always pretty bored in English class. Now, I'm going to be honest, I was bored in every class. I went to 6 years of grad school. But I was surprised that I was bored in English class because I liked it. I liked reading. And my English is pretty good. But the reason I didn't really like it or connect is my teachers would say, okay, here's a poem. Tell me what it means. And I would tell them what it meant. They would say, that's not it. So why'd you ask me? Like, you knew I didn't know, I knew I didn't know. Couldn't we have just kind of skipped? But I shared what I really thought it was. Like, I was actually a very serious student. What does it mean? It means this. No. And after a while, I just started detaching. I started hating the question, what does this mean? But later, I learned a better question. And the question was, how does this mean? How does this create meaning for you? How do you connect to this? And all of a sudden, I could bring myself, I could bring my own thoughts, I could bring my own imagination. By the way, it was too late to do anything about my GPA. Fortunately, I went to college at a time where if you could just spell your name and spell SAT, you were kind of in. So my timing on that was at least pretty good. But I feel like we live in a world that only asks questions because it wants a certain answer. And it is crushing people's imaginations. I find people are more bored now than they've ever been. And it makes me sad. Might even be happening now. And I don't care. We have never had so many opportunities for entertainment. And by the way, I love it. I love the fact that I have every single song, every movie, every book ever made, and a little device that only cost me my soul. So worth it. I'm not anti-device, I'm not anti-social media per se. What I'm against is that it's taking away people's ability to just sit with their own thoughts and be happy. To just have their imagination, to look out the window and feel a sense of joy and connection. And it all starts from a young age. We teach students to answer the questions in the way that we want them to. We might want lots of different kinds of learners. By the way, not in our religious school, Dr. Sir. We want all different kinds of students. We want only one kind of graduate. We talk about we want diversity, but we don't really want diversity. We want lots of different kinds of people to come to the same conclusions. And I think that's deadly. So people know that their own thoughts don't matter, their own ideas, their own stories. None of it matters. If you're going to be successful, look at who we honor in school. We honor the kids who did the best on the tests and the exams. Right? We don't honor the kids with the best imagination. We don't honor the kids who are the kindest. They kind of get the, and you did great too. We appreciate you also. And it makes me very sad because we have a capacity to find joy in the world through our own thoughts, our own ideas, through our own imagination. Einstein talked about that the most important thing is to never stop questioning. Curiosity has its own reason for existing. One cannot help but be in awe when they contemplate the mysteries of eternity, the marvelous structure of reality. And he says, never lose a holy curiosity. I love that phrase, a holy curiosity, that everything in the world is interesting. There is not a single thing in the world that isn't fascinating if you give it some attention. But we're not told that that's okay because it's not on the test. You're not going to need that. By the way, I'm still waiting to use the quadratic formula that my algebra teacher promised me would come in handy. But you never know. You never know. But everything is fascinating, and I'm sorry that people feel so bored with the world. This is the most amazing thing. Everything is fascinating. And if you're bored, I'm going to be honest, it's a little bit because you're boring. Whoa. That, not completely, but interesting people are never bored. They might be irritated from time to time, but they're not bored. And it hurts me that we celebrate the not interesting and we don't cultivate what you find interesting. And I think that's a real missed opportunity, and I think that what Judaism is about is developing your imagination. The Passover Seder, you can't have a Seder without the children there asking questions. And it doesn't have to be just the 4 questions that we teach them. Those 4 questions were honestly just examples. We do a lot of weird things at the Seder, so they'll ask questions, and then it opens up a discussion. Right? The point of the Seder is everyone brings their own thoughts and their ideas into the Seder itself. Sukkot is a funny holiday. That's the holiday we're in now. We just had Yom Kippur, which is very serious, and it's about fasting, and I'm sorry, and all that. You remember, it was like Saturday? Yeah. Sukkot is very happy. Now, today we don't have the lulav and the etrog, the citron and the palm branches, because on the Shabbat itself, we don't have them. But during the week, we take a piece of fruit, we take a stick, and we walk in a magic circle. Several times. And then we're going to dance with a scroll. It's strange. Right? How often do you march with fruit? I mean, there's National Fruitcake Day. The idea is to arouse the imagination. So kids will say, why are you doing this? What's interesting about this? It's to do things that get people to start thinking. Why do we do this? What is my connection to this? How does it make me feel? Judaism is about allowing people to ask open-ended questions and to come to conclusions that maybe we don't like. But it's not about us. We have our thoughts, other people have others, but we come together as a community to do this. And I think that it's just so powerful that Judaism asks questions. The Talmud begins with a question, but then gives lots of answers. And there's room for your own voice as well. There was a great scientist named Rabbi who won the Nobel Prize for Physics in 1944. And his mother in particular, whenever he would come home from school, she wouldn't ask if they had learned anything in school. What Rabbi said was, she always asked me a different question. Izzy, she would say, did you ask a good question today? Did you ask a good question? And he believed that her reminder to ask good questions set him on the path to becoming such a distinguished scientist. So you don't really have to solve anything. You just have to ask questions with a sense of wonder and curiosity, give space for others to do that too. And I think ultimately that will make all of our lives much richer and much happier, and people will feel they can be who they need to be. Shabbat Shalom.